The presidential election of the USA is on the 3rd of November. This election attracts the attention of the world because of its huge political and economic impact. But unlike most countries around that world that have a direct electoral system, the U.S. presidential election adopts an indirect electoral system. Today we'll be exploring the presidential election of the USA. Direct election vs. indirect election. First of all, the direct election is when people directly vote for the candidate. Voting for the class captain is a typical example of the direct electoral system. On the other hand, the indirect election is when people select voters to vote on their behalf. Think of it as the captains of each class electing the school captain. The students of each class elect a class captain and thus elect a representative to vote in the school captain election. The class captain may follow the opinions of their peers in the class or vote at their own discretion. The presidential election of the United States of America. The presidential election of the USA is an indirect election, where the citizens of each state elect the Electoral College, which then elects the president. The number of people in each electoral college depends on the population of the state. The state of California elects 55 electors of the Electoral College because they have a higher population, whereas Washington, D.C., with fewer people only elects 3 electors for their Electoral College. The Electoral College, selected from each state, then elects the president. So how is the Electoral College decided? The citizens of each state vote for the elector of the candidate they support. What is unusual about this process is that the number of electors is not dependent on the percentage of support for each candidate, but all the electors are assigned to the candidate that wins the plurality. For example, if there are 10 electors assigned to the state of Arizona, and candidate A accounts for 60% of the votes, and candidate B accounts for 40%, then all 10 electors of Arizona support candidate A. Why does the U.S. have such a complicated election process? The reason is linked to the form of the nation-state. The USA is a federation where 50 states form one nation. In the early days of the federation, transport and communication were not developed, making it difficult for everyone to vote directly, so the states had to gather opinions on who to support, and the Electoral College, the proxy, went to deliver the consensus. Faithless elector. But what happens if the Electoral College votes different from their state's decision? In the U.S., this is called faithlessness, and the elector who does not vote for whom they had pledged to vote is called a faithless elector. There have been instances of faithlessness in the past, but the result of the election had never changed as a result. However, faithlessness has been gradually increasing, and there were 7 instances of faithlessness in the 2016 presidential election. This is why the states are trying to prevent faithless votes. Some say that electors should be able to vote for the candidate they personally support, but the Supreme Court respects the decision of millions of citizens. This shows that the Electoral College is perceived as the representative of each state.